I'm Kristen with Eeks Office Solutions. Today we're doing a series of videos covering some commonly used functions of your Sharp copier. And right now we're going to dive a little bit into the print driver. So when you want to print a document from your computer, we'll go through some of the settings you'll use to make that effective. We have a document that we'd like to print, and we've gone ahead and already gone to File and Print. This will look a little bit different depending on what application you're using at the time. We're going to choose our printer, in this case the Sharp MX4071, and we're going to go into the printer properties. This may also be called properties or preferences, again depending on what application you're printing from. In our main tab, we'll find the most commonly used features, such as number of copies that we'd like, original size, and orientation. Please keep in mind, in most instances, if your document is already set up as the size you'd like to print, you don't need to change this. If, however, you'd like to print your letter document on a larger or smaller size, you can simply choose that larger or smaller size here. My two-sided printing is also located here, and you'll notice that we have either none, long edge, or short edge. None means one-sided. Long edge means my document will read like a book and the pages will flip from left to right. Short edge, in most cases, means we will read that document like a tablet, so my second side will print upside down so that I can flip it up rather than over. Over here on the other side, we have a couple of nice features. The N Up feature is made to allow you to print multiple pages in smaller thumbnails on a single sheet. So I can go all the way up to 16 up if I'd like to. That's going to make some pretty small pages on there. My staple function is also located here, and I can choose one staple, two, or a stapleless staple, depending on the finisher that my machine has. A stapleless staple is simply a crimp and is available only on specific finishers, but for 5 pages or less, it will perform a staple function without a metal staple in your document. You'll notice here when I choose my two staples, I then have a choice of position that I'd like those staples to be in, typically either top or left. Same thing with my one staple. My color mode is very important down here. Document filing we're going to talk about in another tab, but just keep in mind that there is a quick setting for it available right here. My color mode is very important. Notice that I have automatic, color, and black and white. If I choose automatic, if my document has both color and black and white pages, those pages will charge appropriately. So if I have one color and one black and white page, I'll be charged for one color and one black and white page. By contrast, if I choose color, even if my document includes black and white pages, I will be charged color for those pages because the device will use all 4 color toners to create black, which makes a very rich, beautiful black, but one that is more expensive than you probably need for most business purposes. If you're printing photos or artwork, this is a great setting. Otherwise, we want to stay away from it. Black and white is just black and white, pretty self-explanatory. Up at the top, before we move on, I'd like to point out our favorites button. So let's say, for example, that you do a lot of two-sided printing and you print in automatic color and you do a single staple in the upper left. You do this several times a day, maybe more than that, and you get tired of having to come in and make all the settings each time and try and make sure that you've got them all covered. Instead, once you have the setting tested and you know it does what you'd like it to do, you can come up here to the top. So my favorites right now says Untitled. At the top I can click the Save button and I can give my setting a name. I'll just call it Kristen. You could name it based on the kind of job you do or however else you'd like to. When I click OK here, notice that in the Favorites button, now in addition to the factory defaults, I have my favorite button. And if I change this back to factory defaults now, and then I change it to Kristen, you'll see that my staple mode comes on, which was the only thing that was different there. But this makes it very quick and easy to make settings that you use over and over again easily accessible to you. Keep in mind, for as long as you're in the application that you currently have open, if you print using this favorite setting, it will stay enabled. It will go back to the defaults as soon as you leave or close the application. Our next tab over here is our paper source. This is just about choosing where we'd like that paper to pull from the machine. And again, if this is just a standard document and you want it to pull from the automatically selected tray, you don't need to do anything here. But perhaps you have paper loaded in the bypass tray. And that paper is a label. The machine is going to alert me that I can't use staple, punch, or fold with my label paper. So it'll kind of keep me from making mistakes that I might otherwise make. Otherwise, I can choose the paper type that I'd like here, whether that's heavier, letterhead, or however you set your machine for that specific tray. Notice over on the right-hand side as well, we have a little guide to heavy paper settings. So if you're printing on a cardstock or just a nice heavy paper, you will notice on the end of that package of paper, there is a very small number next to the pound weight. It's called the gram weight. And that is how you choose which heavy paper setting your paper belongs in when you get over to the copier. This is a subject that we can cover in more detail. If you'd like some in-person or even just phone training, this subject, papers, weights, and different kinds of media that you can use in your machine are something that might take just a little bit more time. So please let us know if we can help with that. If I click tray status down here at the bottom, in most cases, I will get a status that shows me what kind of paper is loaded in each of my trays. This is a demo driver, so I apologize, this wasn't set up here, but you would otherwise see what size paper you have and what type of paper is in that tray and how much is still in that tray available for you to use. Next tab over is our finishing tab. This is the other place that we can find our staple and punch features. So here's my staple again. We talked about this in the previous screen. If I have a hole punch available to me, I can choose that here as well. And just like with my staple, you'll notice that I can choose the position on the page that I'd like that punch to apply. Down below, you'll notice that we have the possibility of a folding setting. Again, this will only be applicable if you have a finisher that has a folding capability on it. You'll notice you have this little eye sitting off next to features that are not enabled or that you can't choose. I can't click on this right now. If I hover over that eye and just click once, a little information tab will come up and it will tell me why I can't choose this feature. In most cases, it's because this is not configured as part of your machine. Next tab is our layout tab. This is a tab that will allow us to do some more sophisticated layout and to do some booklet setup for certain documents. I'm going to take us back to our factory defaults here so that I can show you my booklet setup. So booklet in this instance is about creating a document that is paginated correctly. So for example, we have a 7-page, in this case, Word document, and we'd like to print it out so that when we fold it in half, all of the pages are in the correct order. That is what the booklet function does. It is something that we'd like to come out and help you configure in most cases. You're welcome to play with this, but if you have questions about it, again, this is a really great subject to cover in in-person training, and we can help you work with your specific documents to lay them out in the way that you'd like. But if I just go ahead and choose a standard booklet, and then I choose for an output size ledger paper, which is 11 by 17, that will print my pages smaller than normal, just by a little bit on that ledger paper. I'll be able to fold it in half, and I'll have a completely finished and paginated booklet. So again, this is a subject we'd be happy to go into more depth about with you. Just give us a call and let us know. Last tab here that we'll cover for today is our job handling. Job handling will allow us to send documents to the machine for a couple of different purposes. So over here in my document filing, if I click the drop down, you'll see I have a couple of different choices. I have hold after print, and sample print. So an example of what you might use this function for would be if you were printing documents that were confidential in nature, or if you're printing documents and the copier that you'd like to use is a great distance from your desk and you don't want to have that document sitting out in the output tray for too long on the off chance that the wrong person might take it. Or if you want to print documents to the copier that you'd like to use over and over again, things like fax cover sheets or job applications, we can store on the copier and hold long-term for you. We'll go over some of these quick features. Again, really good subject for in-person or more in-depth training if you would like. So if I choose hold only, basically I'm just telling the copier that I would like it to keep my print job until I walk up and release it. So I tell it to hold, and I tell it where I'd like to store my document. We're going to choose the main folder right now. We can help you set up if you'd like custom folders, and those custom folders would allow individual people to have password protected folders if they'd like, or just specifically named folders if you have a lot of different forms or many employees who'd like to use this function. For now, again, we'll choose main folder, And we'll go ahead and put a pin code on our document for confidentiality. I'm just going to put 1, 2, 3, 4 on mine. This is a, or 5. Sorry, I need 5 digits there. This is a number of your choosing, so as long as you remember it, you can use whatever you would like here. So I've chosen to hold and store in the main folder. When I send my print job over, I'm going to go over to the machine and retrieve it, and I'll show you how we do that. So we'll click OK here, then we'll go ahead and click print, but maybe we'll just do 1 page. As we approach the copier, we're going to click the HDD file retrieve button. On my demo machine, again, this is very small, but remember that we can help you customize it. We can have a full-size button on your screen if this is one that you use regularly. So when I open this screen, you'll notice, as we talked about just a moment ago, I have a couple of custom folders, but we're going to use the main folder, which is the one we saved our job to. The very first one in the list is our Microsoft Word document. The username would typically be yours, but I'm on a computer that's for the Husker room, so that's why my username says Husker. I'll tap on that job, and you'll notice that it's going to prompt me to put in the pin code that I created. I can use the soft keyboard, or again, I can use the pull-out keyboard if my machine is equipped with one. Now I have my job available, and I can print it directly from here if I'd like to. I can check the image just to preview it. Notice down here at the bottom, I can choose to delete it. That means after it's printed, it just goes away. And I can choose to print it in black and white if I'm not sure if I remember to do that and I don't need the color. Down here at the bottom, I can also change the number of copies of this document that I'm going to print. Any of the print settings that I made when I sent it over will still hold here, so I don't have to remake those settings in this case. If I need to change something, I can go to Change Print Settings, and I can alter some simple settings in here if I'd like to. Return to File Selection screen gets me back to the beginning, and I can hit Start Printing when I'm ready to go. Now my document is released, and whether I just didn't need it right away or it was a confidential document, I've got a much easier way to make that happen without having to have a printer sitting directly on my own desktop. Again, keep in mind, we can help you customize all of these features. If we need to talk about even more advanced ways for you to do what we call print release, we have many options available to you, in addition to a software called PaperCut that can do this on an even grander scale. If we can help you with training, either in person or remotely, or you have questions about any of the subjects we've covered today, please don't hesitate to reach out. You have training available to you for as long as you have a copier contract from EECS, and we'd love to help you make your machine more productive for you. Thanks so much for taking the time to join us today.